One more trumpet thought for you here on this gorgeous snowy day in southwest Missouri. I'm supposed to get a lot of snow today, so it's just been kind of a nice day to stay home, catch up on some work, and going to practice some trumpet here for a little bit. But have you ever get that feeling where you're breathing in, and as you start to play, you just feel like your air support's just not right. You feel like maybe you're getting stuck, or like you're just not getting the air delivered in the way that you need to, and then you're starting to feel like you're like kind of choking off at the throat, and just things aren't working. I'm sure that's happened to you. I know it's happened to me. Whenever that happens to me, there's a couple of keys that bring that to bear. But one of the things that I can do to turn that around is a thing that I saw several years ago on a YouTube video, and I'm pretty sure it's Steve Patrick, who's a Nashville trumpet player, that I saw him do. And when Steve takes a breath, before he plays, he'll do this like hut kind of thing. And the idea is he's like drawing the air in and then sort of like pushing it forward and then stopping it with his tongue and then releasing it. And it's removing that sensation, I think, of like drawing your air in, and then sometimes it can be hard to just allow that musculature to relax to come back up. So it'd be like if we'll use this balloon as like your lungs, for example, and we'll pretend like we're filling it full of air. But the analogy is kind of like we kind of draw it down to breathe in, and then sometimes I feel like our musculature will kind of hold it down like this, and then we're trying to release the air. And you can imagine that doesn't work out very well. Now, in the case of a balloon, it's pressurized, so it's going to work out just fine. But if we're in the case where we have it pressurized here, the balloon is squeezing down on itself, and as we release it, the balloon will let the air out. But what we want as trumpet players is this feeling more of where like our abdomen is creating some of that compression for us and releasing the air that way. That's the feeling we're going for. And we have some amount of elasticity in our lungs, just like this balloon does. So we have some amount of that, but it's not quite the same. And sometimes it feels to me that we can end up like holding the air back, and it can be hard to release it. And so when I feel that moment, when I feel like I'm like kind of like, it almost like my breathing feels hollow or in some way restricted, that sound before I start really helps, because ultimately what we're trying to get this feeling is we want our abdominal muscles to compress up, and our chest cavity and everything else is compressing in, and so we're squeezing this balloon, and then as we play, we don't blow, we just release. Like that. That's all that happens as we play, when we're playing efficiently. So the way that comes about in practice then is this feeling of sometimes if you're feeling this feeling, or like that feeling where it feels like shaky, it feels unsecure, it feels like the air is not there, and then to combat that, you just start blowing louder, which just makes then like the resistance feel worse, and just everything starts to feel like crap. I've certainly felt that way many, many times. The idea the hack to kind of work around that is that feeling. I'm exaggerating that a little bit now so you can hear it, but that's pretty close to what I'll do when I'm feeling that feeling of my airstream not being supported. Now, when I'm in the zone, everything feels good, I'm not usually having to think about that. I'm not having to think about the kind of thing. But just sometimes, man, sometimes things don't feel good. Last night I was playing in a rehearsal with a community band, and I was not playing my regular horn. I was playing a horn that was pretty bright for me because I was demoing someone else's horn. and it made me feel uncomfortable because I already, being an upstream player, I already have a sound that's kind of bright. So now I'm like in my head about how my sound is, and I'm not sounding as lush and lovely as I would like to in this ensemble. And I could feel that insecurity was making my breathing not as effective. And so I just started using that to kind of get my air moving again. And then as it got better and the night went on, I wasn't having to use it. I could just play like normal. I felt like I could just breathe and release and just do it like, respirate efficiently through my instrument and have it work just fine. But sometimes the think and pray method just doesn't work. Sometimes you need a trick. And for me, that hut sound is the perfect trick to kind of work my way through it. So try that. And I remember that for myself, for years, I felt like that's how I played all the time, is where I just felt like I had too much tension in my lower abdomen, and which then created tension up here. And I was constantly blowing against a closing throat. And that's just how I played the trumpet all the time. And you could imagine how difficult that was to break that habit. That was so difficult. And I found that these little tips and tricks have helped me to overcome that. So I hope they help you. Take care.